Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me in. Yeah. Gon' play that. Take you down, I'ma say that. Mine need me a couple dollars. Telling you now this payback. So I take that. Ask them now what's sage at. I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. But I'm on now. All these lanes gonna zone out. And all these lanes gonna tell you what I did and they twist and they worse till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move, I'm a Kodak. So I'm gone, finally back in my home. I'm working like so much, they swear I had me a clone. Can't answer my phone now, just leave it there, that tone.
Alright, I'm here with Mr. Aaron Meisner, owner, proprietor, head coach, my coach of Royal Striking, Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in South Philadelphia. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today, Aaron.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Me too.
So, Aaron, do you have any introduction you'd like to kind of kick us off with, like brief history of your martial arts background?
Yeah.
What got you started in martial arts in general?
Okay. How I got started in martial arts is probably not your typical way that someone got started. I think a lot of people get started when they're really young. I got started when I was really like at an age where a lot of people are like, oh, I'm too old to do that. So I was 25 going on 26 when I took my first Muay Thai class. No experience before that, no boxing, nothing. Just played a lot of sports. I was always kind of like a natural athlete, could adapt to any sports. And I liked competition. And I just got to an age where I was playing on like intramural basketball leagues, working full time, didn't really have the energy anymore to like make these night games. And I was looking for something to do kind of like immediately after my job let out at 3 p.m. So I was watching MTV, and I think it was Real Life or True Life. I'm a Muay Thai fighter.
Oh, okay.
Going way back. And Kid Cope, yeah.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is cool because I flirted with the idea of getting into martial arts my whole teenage years. I also lived in a suburb town of New Jersey in Browns Mills, and there was only one Taekwondo gym there.
Okay.
And I wasn't really sold on Taekwondo.
Did you try it out?
I didn't. It was like a 20-minute drive from my parents to take me there, and I was just kind of like, it was in our neighborhood. I probably would have walked in there. And then I always heard horror stories of boxing gyms, like people just going in and just getting like knocked out the first day, and I was like, not really what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
So I just put it off, and I saw that documentary when I was 25, and it just like lit a spark, you know, and I was like, I'm going on the internet right now. I Googled Muay Thai, Philadelphia. I found a place called Philadelphia MMA, and it was what would later turn into Datus.
Okay.
And so I went there, and first day I was hooked. We were partnered up with, another person. We held pads for each other, and I was like, this is like unbelievably fun.
So you're saying you went in with like no martial arts training or background, and just kind of like
zero.
Trusted the process.
I had a good feeling about it.
Yeah.
You know, like I've always been one of those people that I've kind of been a little tentative on things, and then I wait. And then I jump in and I'm like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
Scenery, you know?
Yeah,
so
I can relate to that.
kind of like, now I've cut that part out. Now I'm just like, let's do it, you know? And if it like sucks, I'm just like, whatever, you know? But yeah, I had that, I was always like that. And I fell in love with it instantly. And I went home and I was like such on like an endorphin rush, and I couldn't wait to go back. So I tried to go as much as possible. You know, and next thing you know, I was at work just thinking about it all day, like more than I should have, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up, you know, let's jump forward maybe like 6 months. I ended up leaving my job.
What were you doing at the time, if you don't mind asking?
Warehouse gig. So after I graduated high school, I went to school for a few things. Like we were talking, Art Institute.
Yep.
And I just couldn't really find something that was like my natural calling, you know. I was always like a bad student because I hated school. Not because I was like stupid or anything.
Right,
It was just like I was one of those people that just wanted to do other stuff, you know.
It didn't like stimulate you.
No, I was a creative person, but I was more like, you know, more like a hands-on guy, you know. I want to like,
absolutely,
you know, run around and do stuff. I got straight A's in gym class and lunch, so. So you know, I left that job. So it was this warehouse gig. It was just like, it was paying the bills, but it was one of those jobs where I was like, let me work here for a year, figure my life out, and 7 years go by, and I'm like working with a bunch of people, not everybody, but a lot of people at that job were just miserable, and I saw where it was going, and I was like, I gotta do something here, and left that job, became a personal trainer, because I was always into like lifting weights. Matter of fact, when I got into martial arts, I was at the heaviest of my life, not because I was chubby or fat, I was just like pretty muscular. I was about 230 pounds, and I walked into the
and
gym.
You're
pretty big boy. I'm 6 feet. No, I'm actually 5'11" and a half.
Really? You walk around much taller?
I got a long neck.
Okay.
So I'm 5'11" and a half. And I was about 230, so I felt confident going into the gym. Like, all right, I got some muscle. I can, you know, at least like, you know, defend myself here, I think. And you learn real fast that like, man, I can't even throw a proper punch. I couldn't kick above anybody's like thigh. I mean, so I can relate to a lot of people that start off, especially later. I'm like, listen, man, I was just like you. You know, I went home and I just thought about it in my head and figured out ways to get better at this. So when I quit my job and I became a trainer, I did that full time in the city. I moved actually, so just
from South
backtrack a little bit. I didn't quit my job. I actually got fired from my job, but it was a plan. I got fired.
Nice move.
Yeah, fired on purpose. I collected my unemployment for 6 months, but while I did that, I actually got certified to be a personal trainer. I was like studying and then training full time. At this point, I had already done maybe like 2 amateur fights. So in the first 6 months, I had 2 fights already.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah,
so you advanced pretty quickly, and
I started sparring a month into it, and I just felt comfortable. I felt like this is, I think I'm doing all right here.
Yeah, this is my thing.
We had a coach at the time, Coach Rigel and Coach Brad, who owned Datus. They were very aggressive, you know, and they kind of pushed you along. They like basically they pushed you into fights, which was good, you know, because at the time I remember going in there and I was like, I'll never fight. I just want to train. I just want to like figure out ways to do cardio without actually running on a treadmill, like, you know, pointlessly. You know, I don't want to like run for nothing. I needed some motivation. So the fighter training actually really motivated me to do a lot of things. Gave me a lot of confidence.
Okay.
And a lot of things in life, you know.
That's something I wanted to drill into a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You said something that I think I can relate to. I think a lot of people that train here, specifically at Royal, and just martial arts in general, Jiu-Jitsu. You said something, you know, you were thinking about it more than you should. What do you think it is about martial arts or Muay Thai? I have my assumptions, but what is it that we find so addicting?
All right, so I think there's more than just one answer.
A healthy addiction, I should.
Yeah, it is.
I should.
Very well. Okay, so
saying.
it's a good thing you touched upon that. I think a lot of people have addictions, and I think a lot of people have something that they just feel like they need to do on a daily basis to stimulate them and keep them happy. So if it comes to like bad addictions, I know a lot of people who've had supplement addictions that found Muay Thai that it easily took the place of it, you know, because it's an adrenaline rush, you know, like I said, it's an endorphin high. It's something that's like, it's something out of the ordinary, you know, it's like, it's a thrill to have like combat, even if it's simulated combat, you know, it's a thrill. I think with me, my fear growing up was always person-to-person fear. I was always intimidated by people. Not because of the way they looked or the way they dressed or the way they talked. It was just, am I gonna be like, interesting enough to this person to, you know, have a conversation or to
Yeah.
hold their attention. And I think Muay Thai forces you in a very close quarters. You know, you're like the first day there, you're with one person, you know, you're trusting that person to hold pads for you, so you get a relationship right away with that person.
Yeah.
And in the next class, you get somebody else, and then when I start doing Jiu-Jitsu, it's like you guys are like face to face, you know, having like awkward conversations,
Yeah.
awkward positions, and next thing you know, it's like, hey, like being around people all the time isn't so bad, you know.
Right.
So I feel like that has broken down a lot of barriers for me, and it's opened up a part of my personality that I really liked, and I feel like that's kind of kept me in martial arts, Muay Thai, crossed over to Jiu-Jitsu and boxing and coaching. You know, now I feel very comfortable around people, and I can spot some people that might have been like me or even more closed up that could like really benefit from just like expressing their personality a little more.
And I'm really glad that we're talking about this, because this is the good stuff that I'm really like draining as much out of it as I can from martial arts, because like yourself, like I have always been someone not comfortable being on camera, not you know, speaking up or putting my voice out there for fear of how it might sound, or someone receiving it and not liking it, you know, and projection in some way. And I talked to Trent Stump before we got a chance to sit down, and we kind of spoke a little bit around, there's this level of, it's kind of a weird word to use, but there's this sort of intimacy, not in, you know, the traditional sense we think about it, but when you're trading punches, or like someone has their arm around your throat, or, you know, throwing a kick, there's an immediate connection that you're having with that person. And I think a misconception to some people might be that it's a negative thing.
Yeah.
But I think what might be, for me, I've been thinking about it, I obsess about it. I think about Muay Thai a lot now. I've only been training for, you know, 5 months or so.
Yeah.
But I've kind of replaced certain unhealthy habits that I've had throughout my adult life for whatever reasons they may have come up. You know, people have traumas in their life, and they look to other things that might not be so healthy. And what I've done that has been successful for me is take all that negative energy and pour it right into something. My wife put it in this interesting way of like taking an addiction and turning it into an obsession.
Yeah.
So now I have this obsession with like self-improvement and challenging myself and putting myself in these really uncomfortable places that normally and previously a different version of myself would have been like, fuck that, I'm out of here. Yeah. So you're saying like people will go all in for a few weeks, and then they might,
and then they fade off. And I often wonder, I think about those people, like, what are they doing now? What's their mindset now? You know, like, what was it that got them so into it and so out of it? You know, I've never really been one to be like that. I've been the opposite. I've always wanted to do stuff that I put off, and I realize that when I try stuff, if I like it, I tend to stick with it, and I just kind of keep it in my life. You know, I don't like, this is the one thing that I went all in on, but it's also treated me with a pretty fun life. You know, I remember my parents, when I was fighting, my parents were always like, "Well, why do you like doing that?" And I'm like, because it's taking care of me. Like, it really is. It's like showing me relationships. It's making me some money. It's showing me avenues. Like, you know, there's injuries, and there's times where it hurts, and there's times where you go home and you're like really down on yourself, but it's only because you care about it so much, you know? And it's continued to pay me back, and to this day. You know?
And you know,
I never get bored of it.
No, you know, it's a puzzle. It's kind of like jiu-jitsu and martial arts. You know, it's this puzzle you're constantly trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And I've only just begun. You know, so I look to guys like yourself. You know, and it's funny, interesting that you say that, you know, you maybe kind of struggled with like confidence issues or connecting with people in some way, because I think one thing, a huge thing that may attribute to some of that like addiction to this that we keep, kind of pulling up the rope a bit, is that you develop a character that puts out the opposite of what you used to be.
Yeah.
In that,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I would never have thought, there's a way that you carry yourself that, hey, there's coach. Coach is going to show me what's up. Coach is looking out for me. You meet people that train in Jiu-Jitsu and martial arts, Muay Thai, and for a number of years, you develop this sense of comfort in yourself and a confidence that most often it puts out in a good way. You're there, you're approachable, you can make connections with people because you've had that close place where a lot of us avoid, those uncomfortable places.
Yeah.
So there's something in there that I'm
There
really
can be a lot of
interested
discomfort in this sport. It's very humbling.
Yeah.
That's another
Absolutely.
thing too. It definitely humbles you. And I was always a person that got embarrassed real easy. And now I never get embarrassed because I've been embarrassed. I've been punched, on national TV and dropped. I've been submitted over and over in Jiu-Jitsu. Still to this day,
Yeah.
I get submitted all the time in Jiu-Jitsu. It's humbling, but I don't take it as like, it's just more of like, it's either that person who submitted me is getting that much better at it, and I'm happy to be of help to that person, or it's just like, all right, well, I gotta adjust this and do that. It's always development, and it turns into character development, So the humbleness of it, it builds character. It's like I'm the same guy that I always was, but I've absorbed different personalities from people and habits, hopefully better than bad habits.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like I hate meeting people that I knew in the past that are still the same person, and I'm like, man.
You encounter a lot of that.
Man, it's because they don't do really too much in their life. They've never really. They watch a lot of TV.
It's easy to get comfortable, I think.
Yeah, it is.
And you touched on something a moment ago that I can also kind of relate to personally, and it kind of reminds me of art in a way. Like as a designer and a creative person professionally, we're always pulling things from other places. We're inspired by this or that, and that's good. Wow, that's really neat. I want to kind of use a little bit of that here.
Yeah.
So you might meet someone or train with someone or cross paths with someone that a part of their personality you kind of want to like borrow a bit of.
Oh, for sure.
And kind of
I think as
chip
Pisces
away.
too, we're pretty good
Could
at that.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the water sign, you kind of flow through
you
and
could, man,
fill in the voids
Yeah.
where they need to be.
You adapt into things that you like.
Yeah, and I know for myself, like I go all in on something. Like if I'm into it and I'm getting a rewarding feeling from it, I want to keep doing that.
Yep.
And so that's what this whole conversation is. There'll probably be more of it. Is just, trying to mine from you what that is. What is that fighting spirit that, enables you to take something so extreme, for lack of a better word, and go to the level that you did with it. Step into a cage with someone who is being paid to punch you in the face.
I remember watching it on TV before I ever got into it, and I was just like, oh, these guys are crazy. Like, I would never do it. I remember the first time this is when, West Coast Video and Blockbusters were still around. I think I was called out of work sick one day, and I got like stomach flu or something, and I went to Blockbuster and got a bunch of movies, and this is probably like 97, 98. And I got one of the first UFCs. I rented it, and I had like butterflies watching it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. Like, how are these people doing this? And then fast forward, and it's like, boom. It was just weird how I got into it, and it was like a snowball effect.
Yeah.
I think anything that you're on the outside of is always going to be viewed. It's like judging a book by its cover until you really get into that book and you're halfway through it and you're like, whoa, you forgot that what you thought about it when you first got into it. You become it. And I was always afraid. I didn't grow up in the roughest neighborhood, but like the suburb where I grew up, it was just kind of there. You know, there was a lot of transplants from the city that moved out there. A lot of kids that like to fight, and I always hated fighting. Hated it. Like I was always like just a guy that wanted to get up, hang out, have a good time.
Yeah.
You know, cause like troubles. You know what I mean?
Little
Like maybe
mischief here and
throw
there.
some wet socks at cars
Yeah.
going by. But I never wanted to go like attack other kids or like be a bully. But that happens. But that happens.
Yeah, in my neighborhood.
I got bullied a lot because I was tall for my age, and I got bullied a whole lot, and I never really noticed it until I was older. Like, man, I got bullied even by my friends. I got bullied a lot, you know, and I was always afraid of like getting into fights and stuff like that. Not because I didn't think I couldn't fight. I knew I could fight. I knew it because I was stronger and more athletic. I knew it. I just didn't like that part of it. I didn't like to hurt people or think about it. But as I got the fear, like as I got into training, I realized that the thing that I was scared of the most in life was being attacked by somebody. Like, who is it, right?
Yeah.
And then so once I started training, I realized that like, this isn't that bad.
Once you face the worst that could happen.
Yeah. I'm one of those people. If I'm scared of something, I go after it now.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things like that. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
You know what I mean? If it's really, really bad, you might not even realize the worst thing happened.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's the end of it.
Yeah, you're not there.
Yeah.
So it's just taking chances is more thrilling than anything. But yeah, so nowadays I look at UFC fights or any MMA fight, I should say, and I think back at what I first thought about it, and now I look at it as like I'm able to dissect it. I'm able to understand, exactly how this person. I watch fights with someone who doesn't train, and they're just like, oh, ow, oh, and I'm like, it's not that bad, man. They're like, they're not really that hurt. You know what I mean? They're like, they're taking the punch, but they're moving in a direction where they're not taking it flush, and so now I look at it as a total, like, a different science,
It is a science and it's an art, and there's something there that
it's an art.
I've thought about it recently, and I feel like I want to call it like physical intelligence that you're learning. I know when I come in a lot of times and I look around, everyone has built that level of intelligence. I haven't quite acquired
IQ,
that
right?
yet.
Like a fight IQ?
Well, fight IQ.
Yeah.
Or just a physical intelligence, call it a fight IQ,
Yeah.
where you learn to make your body do the thing that you need it to do.
Yeah, I wish I had it when I first started. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here with this knee brace on.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be sitting here at, almost 45 years old if I didn't finally get off the couch and stop, watching it on TV and actually go train. And how you can actually put it.
I was talking to one of my fighters yesterday, and I was like, you know what, man? The world would be a lot cooler if people actually trained some sort of martial art or combat sport, because the people who are usually the assholes are the ones that are afraid of that interaction. Like you said, you get up off your couch, you come in, and you realize that most of the people in here are super cool.
Absolutely.
They're not the people out causing problems, you know what I mean? So I feel like if a lot of people got off their couch, a lot of problems would be solved.
I agree. And you encounter people here in a way that you would never expect. For me to walk into this gym and see guys now and get that little fist bump and, hey, I'm seeing some improvements, and me the same way, like offer critique anywhere I can. And we're all here to make each other better. We're all here to understand ourselves in a way that I think is maybe missing.
Yeah, that's why I call it a family. We might not be a group that leaves the gym and goes to the same place together, but when we're here, everybody's got a lot of respect for each other. People generally, like, I feel like I got a lot of that leadership when I was at Balance. I saw the way that those coaches cared about their members, and I like that. I was like really into that.
Yeah, it's a great gym.
Yeah, and that was just kind of like instilled into me. And I've always said, all right, that gym very successful. That's the way that you have to run your gym. You have to treat everybody, you have to teach everybody, you have to take the time and the patience to really like make sure everybody understands what they're doing. And then you see other people doing it with other people, and it becomes very addictive, you know, and it's just nice, man. And it becomes like, before you know it, like these people I've been here for 4 years. I have members that have been here the entire 4 years, and their development has helped other people, especially people who walked through the door in the last couple of months, like really develop, and it moves things along so much smoother. You want to react to the question?
Yeah, so we're talking about, you know, how do you deal with, how have you dealt with an individual in your gym that doesn't fit? That's just got a bad vibe, a bad attitude, and he's stinking up the place.
Yeah. There's a couple of different ways. Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad apples. I won't go into like what makes a person a bad apple, because that just becomes opinion.
I think we all kind of have encountered this person.
Yeah.
I think
I'm direct, man. I'll say stuff to that person directly because I feel like that's just the best way to do it. And I'm like I said, I'm patient. I don't expect perfection. I don't expect that person to change like that. But if they change and they stay changed, and it becomes like, all right, the person gets it. They get, you know, in their head, they just needed to be maybe reminded, or sometimes people look for attention, and then they all of a sudden it's like a different person. Or if it's just a bad apple, it's like you just got to be like, hey man, like, you know what I mean? I don't think you're a good fit here.
Right.
And let's be honest, like nobody likes you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like nobody likes you, and I don't know why you keep coming back. Or they'll just leave on their own.
I'm glad we haven't had that conversation.
Yeah, well, I was about to. Interview's over. It's been a very, very few amount of people. You know, I think people come in right away and they get my personality, and they know that like I'm an easygoing guy, but I definitely have a like a, what's the word I'm looking for? I set a vibe out there. You know what I mean? And I let you be you, but I'm not really into the person who's selfish and is just in it for themselves. You know, it's complicated because it's one of those sports where you're the only person in the ring, you're the only person in the cage, but it's like you didn't get there on your own, so you got to remember that. So you can't be that selfish, you know. There's some give and take, you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I think this sport, if we can kind of refer to it as a sport, this activity lends itself to making one another better.
Oh yeah.
You know, and
absolutely.
if you are in it for yourself and you're not offering someone like myself who comes in and wants to get better and, you know, is open to the critique and, you know, what could I be doing to kind of, you know, improve myself. You want to be somewhere that is, you know, conducive to that.
Yeah.
And I think I noticed that, and I felt that when I walked in here. I felt like a camaraderie that
sure.
I think we seek out. As men, I can only speak as a man. I'm sure the women here feel it as well. There's a camaraderie, and there's a feeling of being a part of a tribe.
Right.
There's a guy I listen to. I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but he kind of spoke about this like tribalism. Like, find your tribe. Art of Man or Aaron Melcher.
I'm not sure if I know him. Yeah.
I think his name is, but he gets a little too preachy at times. But nothing against the guy. But there's a lot of little nuggets in there that, again, I really like what that guy said. Yeah. I like what Jocko said here. I like what Joe Rogan said, or whoever you might come across. Yeah. But I got off track. But he was talking about finding your tribe. Whatever that tribe, maybe it's running. You find a group of men or men and women that are about what you're about. And surfing. You know, find a tribe of guys that you can do something and get that rewarding feeling, or walk in the door somewhere here in South Philadelphia at Royal and see guys a couple times a week and you know, trade punches with them and roll on the mats and get that sense of camaraderie that I think we need.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like even if you're not aware of it, spending time with this group of people, spending time with that group of people, spending time with, you know, just finding, like you said, tribes. You can have multiple tribes,
Sure.
you know, and it really does help. Like maybe spending time with this group helps you with this group. Yeah, and it just like you said, it morphs you into the person that you are, or the person that you're trying to become, you know. And I feel like everybody in a tribe has a role, whether they know it or not.
That's a
You
good
know?
point.
Yeah, and some people might want to come in and be the world's best fighter, and they're never gonna be, but they have an important role. They have an important role because they're here, and they're either going to help someone else with their role, you know what I mean, or at least they can just be a part of, like, they can just boost somebody's mood.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like that's another thing as a coach too. You're trying to, so I have some of the guys who have no athletic ability, but they can fight so good. You know what I mean? I have athletes that are so athletic, but they have like just no heart. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, how do I get these guys? You know what I mean? So it's like trying to mold them into what they want to be, but this person might be able to help that person, and yeah, everybody's got a little role in the whole tribe.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, you know, I think you can find whatever you want your role to be here. You know, myself, I know I'm, you know, in my 40s, I'm not trying to get a fight, but be kind of cool to, like, you know, maybe enter a jiu-jitsu tournament or something like that.
That's the best thing about this sport. It's like, yeah, maybe like you're past the age of like being a pro fighter.
Right.
But you can always take an amateur fight.
Could
You
do
know what I
that,
mean?
or maybe my role here is just to train with guys that are,
Yeah.
and make them better,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
humble myself.
You
and
might become the world's best pad holder. You know
Could
what I
be.
mean? You might be someone who inspires one of the fighters. Just like you just change one view in their head, and next thing you know, it's just like they think of something completely different, and then something clicks. You know what I mean?
I exactly, and I get a lot out of like boosting people up. Hey man, good work today. Even if they're way better than me, they don't need me telling them that.
Yeah.
You know, good work today. Like,
Yeah, that's good.
it makes me feel good to boost someone's ego.
Just call you showing love, and that's the way it should be. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people out there that come in, do a great job, and then they just like walk out of here without saying something. I always wonder, like, is that person just like an asshole, or are they just like shy? You know what I mean?
Could be.
So it's like, but I don't really get the asshole vibe. I think it's just more of they're just like a shy person.
Could be shy,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And it's like, you know what I mean? But maybe they'll come around one day. You know?
Yeah.
But as long as they're not
Yeah.
a douche.
Well, douche or not. I have a lot of questions here.
Sure.
We didn't get to them,
All right.
but I feel like we had a really good conversation.
All right. You want to ask some?
Yeah, I
Ask a few.
feel like we covered some of them. I didn't
Yeah.
want to be looking at my
Ask a
phone while we're talking, but I'll kind of maybe see what. Okay, this kind of is a good segue into maybe
Okay.
some of the things we were talking about. Like, what advice could you give someone interested in taking Muay Thai or getting into Jiu-Jitsu that might kind of struggle with self-confidence or self-discipline or just that failure to launch?
I would just put your ego aside, because it really doesn't belong to you anyway. It's whatever thoughts you have or you think you are. I feel like those are just things that you put into your own head, and you really don't know who you are until you just really try to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. If you have an idea that you might like it, you probably will like it, and you should just jump in head first. You know, there'll be someone here to help you. You know, it's not like you're gonna jump into a room full of sharks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, most MMA gyms, most Jiu-Jitsu gyms, most Muay Thai gyms are, like you said, like you found out, everybody's very helpful. You know, if you go to a gym and you're treated like shit, it's either you or the gym. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it's not the gym. You know what I mean? If it's you, then you can get changed.
Sure.
You can, and that might be one of the reasons why you're afraid to do it anyway.
Could be subconsciously why you're there.
Yeah, but if it's the gym, then I hope you know the difference, you know. But most places are going to be cool. And just go for it, you know. Like there's like, I put off. I mean, just imagine if I would have got into it at 10 years old, you know. I train a girl who's 16 now. She started when she was 5. Not with me. She started with me 3 years ago. But damn, you know what I mean. She beats the crap out of everybody, and it's like, that'd been cool to start at 5 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, where would I have been? Yeah, just jumped in head first. Put your ego aside, and take some pride in failing. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta fail. You do. You can't
Sure.
be good at everything.
Right,
you know,
right.
especially this. This is definitely something that you might think that you're gonna be good at it. Chances are you're not gonna be
Right.
good at it at all. You know, it takes some time. You know, so put some time into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people may shy away from that understanding and knowing that they might suck at something
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I look back at, well, there's not like a lot of old videos of me when I first started, because it was like on a VHS tape. But I look back at my first fight and I'm like, oh my God. Even fights that are on the internet, I'm just like, even the ones I won, I'm like, those are embarrassing, man. Like,
Yeah.
I was not good. I was aggressive, but I was like, ugh. You know, so it's like, yeah, just don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to look stupid, because you're gonna
Yeah.
look stupid. You know what I
And
mean?
one thing to keep in mind, not everyone is looking at you.
They're not. That's why I always tell people all the time. No one's paying attention to you.
Right,
They're really
right.
not. Unless you're like grunting really loud or trying to draw
Right.
attention, no one's paying attention
You
to
can
you.
kind of suck on your own in the corner until you suck a little less and a little
People are
less.
like come in, they shadowbox for the first time, they're like, I'm
Yeah.
like, no one's watching you.
Right,
Trust me,
right.
they're doing their own thing. They're like,
Yeah.
no one's, and they looked just like you when you came in. So, and they know that, you know?
Yeah. And I think a message in there is like the less you care about what people think of you,
Mhm.
the happier
Yeah,
you're
you
gonna
shouldn't
be.
even care. You really
Yeah.
shouldn't. Like, come from a person that I really cared about what people thought about
Likewise.
me.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like, why do I care? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is my life. Everything is my perspective. As long as I'm respectful, you know, and I value everything around me, what's the harm in making a fool of yourself?
Right.
You know?
Maybe kick a little ass along the way while you're
Hey, that's
learning humility
another
and some
territory.
technique. Why don't we stop there?
Okay.
Because again, you know, maybe we can kind of reconvene and keep
Sure.
the conversation going.
Yeah.
I'm going to call this episode 1 of Why I Fight
Okay.
with Aaron Meisner of Royal Striking in South Philadelphia.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Meisner,
Jason.
thank you, sir.
Well.